G'day folks, welcome to this second video in my series on my favourite board game box design covers. In this video I am talking about non-wargame box designs and my top 10 list of non-wargame, general board game box design covers. As I've said in the first video, I am focusing on box covers that have tried to be creative. As much as possible, I'm looking for either original art or designs that have very often taken art and modified it to some extent to really bring it to the fore of the cover. It's very hard, particularly with the war games, where so much of the cover design is often based around an existing piece of art. So in that video I tried to acknowledge the work that these designers are doing. And it's much the same case here with these non-war games. I think when we talk about non-war games, there seems to be a greater degree of liberty and originality, I think it's fair to say. So yeah, we'll see that in this top 10 list. First of all though, I think honourable mention for these three games, Indonesia, John Company and Antiquity. Two of these, I think Antiquity and Indonesia are both Splotter publications, and John Company is a whirligig design by Colwell. I love just the simplicity of these. The title comes right to the fore: John Company, Indonesia, and Antiquity. I don't own Antiquity, but it's always struck me as, I don't own John Company either at the moment, but yeah, these three covers have always struck me as really quite using a really nice background aesthetic to bring the title to the front. And I love my copy of Indonesia and its box art cover. John Company really stands out, and I think so has Antiquity. It's just it conveys the sort of the folio. I can't remember what this sort of style of cover material is called, but of this medieval period, pretty much. So honourable mention for those, because I think they really help these titles to stand out. And they're quite striking. Okay, so again, I'm separating my personal enjoyment from the game. This is an important consideration. I'm really consciously separating my enjoyment for the game from what I think is a good box cover. A number of these games, as I'll talk about in a moment, I really don't like or don't enjoy that much, but I respect, that they are really captivating covers that really still draw me in. So let's get started with number 10, and it's a game that I've only recently discovered. It is Dune: War for Arrakis, and what I love about this is the way, well, in particular, it's quirky, but the box cover can be read either way. So there we go. Dune, the words Dune, whatever way you look at the box, it reads Dune. You've got the red side up and it can be read, blue side up and it can be read. You've got game design by Francesco Nepitello and Marco Maggi. And again, when you flip it around this way, if you look at it this way, Simon in the bottom left corner and Legendary standing out. So yeah, it's very clever. It's simple, but colourful, bright. The blue and the orange really stands out. It's a big box too. So this, this looks great when it's on your table, and it's just really fascinating just to rotate and look at, and quirky, clever, simple but effective. And we talk about this box cover, and that's and it's really unique and striking. And I can't think of a box cover that is quite like that. So that's hitting my number 10. Number 9 is a game that I don't rate too highly. You can see here I rated a 5 out of 10. Overall, it's 6.6. It's not a great game in my view. It's a game about chickens vying for power in ancient Rome, ancient Roman chicken families, and you've got this it's kind of almost a political game. If I can just show you some sort of images. It's basically a political game of chickens vying for power. I'm not a huge fan of the game, but the box cover is what drew me to this game. I formerly owned it, and I think I was largely driven to it by this box cover. I love the kind of, it's not really, is it a marble background, stone background with the shadow of this chicken and the blood splatter? Yeah, it's a really nice, captivating design. It drew me into this game. Didn't like the game, but yeah, I think this is what a good box cover can do. It can lure people into the game, and so I really like that. the vibe you get from looking at the Chicken Caesar box cover, despite the fact that I don't like the game. Okay, number 8 is a game that I'm very much anticipating, looking forward to this so much. This is Earthborne Rangers, and again, I love the box cover. Another big box, and you know, on the box cover, I don't have it yet, but big box, and this big image appears on the front, and it just looks lovely. I've seen these boxes, and I've seen, you know, the impact this cover has. So for me, Earthborne Rangers is another one of those games where, you know, the use of this art, and I should point out, this is a design by Andrew Fisher, Brooks, Pfluger, Levitt, Andrew Navarro, Adam Sadler, Brady Sadler, with art by Joe Banner and Evan Simone. And yeah, it's a really captivating style of art. Again, very, very unique. I can't think of any other box cover that, you know, is of this style and really quite captivating. And again, the fact that this is so big, you see this kind of game on in your local game store, if it's, you know, set up full size, and it would really grab you. Okay, so yeah, that's number 8 for me. Number 6, now, Anno 1800. Now, this is a board game based on the computer game, and the computer game uses quite a range of art like this. Now, the acknowledged artist is, I'm linked to Fiore GmbH, which is a German design studio. Now, this German design studio is, I believe, responsible for a range of art used in the computer game, and they've obviously taken one of those images as a cover for the board game, and I love it. It's again another cover image that has drawn me to this game. I have this on my shelf. I haven't played it yet, so I cannot comment at all on the quality of gameplay, but I just love this. If I can kind of zoom in, you can see the sort of, I don't know how they've done it, but you can see the brush strokes in the background here, and it looks really cool. I should get off that Fiore, but there. So yeah, game by Martin Wallace, and yeah, again, a really striking, captivating image. You see, if I were to see this on my local board game shelf, I would be picking it up to look at it. And I think that's what a good board game cover does. In number 5, I'm splitting it between Root and Oath. This is art by Kyle Ferrin. I'm a huge fan of Kyle Ferrin's art, not only in the covers but throughout these games. I like all of Kyle Ferrin's art. Everything he does looks really cool. It's quirky. It's kind of reminiscent of the Richard Starkey kind of art from when I was a kid. So maybe I've got that nostalgia. I love in his games, you know, zooming in and looking at the details. So, you know, we zoom into the cover of Oath. There's so much going on at the ground level, all these little people talking and stuff going on. And it's a similar story with Root. Not just on the cover, but when you open these games up and you explore Kyle Ferrin's style of art, you know, very reflecting, you know, a comical view of nature, in these sort of matte tones with these quirky characters. Yeah, it's almost a heartwarming style of art. As much as a game style of art can be heartwarming, Kyle Ferrin does it. So whenever I see Kyle Ferrin art, I'm drawn and I look. Now I have Root and I have Oath. That's about all I've got at the moment, but yeah, these are two fantastic covers and really hard to separate. If I did have to split them, I'd probably say I'm leaning more towards Oath than Root. On the cover art, the wording Oath, maybe because Root is a bit older, so I've seen it so many times now. But yeah, I really love Kyle Ferrin's art. And I should point out, there we go, there's Root from 2018 and there's Oath from 2021. All right, moving on to number 4. Look, and it's really hard to separate these top 4, but I've placed Brass Birmingham, published in 2018. This is, of course, this re-implements Brass Lancashire, and I feel like this is the Brass Lancashire cover in the bottom right. I feel like the Brass Birmingham cover is oh, hold on. So Lancashire re-implements. It's saying, yeah, Brass Lancashire 2007, Brass Birmingham 2018. And I just love this. It's such a simple box cover. You know, a stone paved road with a wagon wheel up in the corner and a bucket and a bottle in the bottom right. It's so simple. Another Martin Wallace design with Matt Tolman and Gavin Brown. Art is Gavin Brown, Lena Cassette, David Forrest, Guy Landgraf, and two more, Damien Mamoliti and Matt Tolman. I'm not sure who's responsible for that cover art, but it's really kind of, again, capturing the feeling, the vibe, the essence of this era and of gameplay, of industrial revolutionary era building and transportation. Yeah, it's beautiful. Again, this image here that I'm showing has a bit of contextual image and boundary, but it really helps bring out that theme. Okay, so moving on to number 3, and this image doesn't do the cover justice. Kingdom Death Monster. Okay, there aren't many images of the box art, but yeah, it's really hard to capture as well. It looks look a bit like this. I'm not doing it justice, but it's a black box, quite dark black, with this slightly glossy visible imprint on it. Okay, so you can see the imprint looks like on the screen here, but it's really hard to capture you know, what this actually looks like when it's in your hands. It's the fact that it's a huge box with this very subtle, foreboding black hooded figure. I think this is the Watcher, and yeah, it just has a very haunting, spooky. This is Cards Against Humanity down the bottom there, but yeah, really, no image can. I've browsed through the images, and none of them really do it justice. Really capture. There's an image of the big box, but again, that's just doesn't really do it justice. So, but yeah, look, I no longer have this in collection. I sold it off when I picked up AN Trespass Odyssey, but always admired, again, the simple, haunting box cover design in Kingdom Death Monster. Moving on to number 2, and again, this is a lovely box art that isn't justified by this image. So I actually picked my copy off the shelf here. So this is a Gallerist by Vital Lacerda, and it's the only Vital. There are so many great Vital Lacerda covers. I thought about On Mars, Lisboa, kind of. They both made the short list, and then I took them off. But I've set it on the Gallerist for number 2, and it's hard to kind of explain why I love this. Basically, the art, the design. This is a game about managing an art gallery and sponsoring artists, and the cover features, you know, a piece of art with the butcher's paper wrapping it, and it wraps around the side of the box, and you know, even over the back, you've got the folds in the paper, as though, you know, the whole box conveys the feeling that it is a work of art that you're ripping the butcher's paper off. The fact that it is textured as well, the fact that it's you know, there's just the shape and the size of the box. It's heavy. It almost feels like you pick this off the shelf, and it feels like you're pulling a work of art, you know, off the shelf, and you've got the you know, the folds in the paper to unpack. You don't, but you know, it conveys that feeling from picking it up, from feeling it and looking at it, and you know, lifting the lid off, and yeah, every bit about this really conveys that theme and feeling of being a gallerist, and you're diving into the art world. The image doesn't capture it. That's why I had to get this off the shelf to share that. Which then brings me to number 1. And again, this is a game that I'm not a fan of. I rate this 6 out of 10, but I absolutely love the cover for Etherfields. It was, and again, the cover drew me to Etherfields in the first place. I saw this image on Board Game Geek, and I thought, wow, that's a beautiful cover, how they've kind of wrapped the art around the sides of the boxes. Similar ideas to the Gallerist, to create this sort of 3-dimensional effect. It feels like you can almost reach into that box cover. So Etherfields is about exploring a dream world. It's an Awakened Realms game. It has really fascinating storytelling and exploration mechanics. becomes a bit repetitive after time. I'm not going to talk about the game, but what struck me, what drew me into this game in the first place was the cover art. So this for me is, yeah, I think one of the most beautiful, engaging, alluring, one of my favourite box cover arts. Again, pretty simple, but yeah, as I said, I saw this on Board Game Geek and had to know more about the game. I knew nothing about it. You get no sense of gameplay from this cover art, but I saw this and I wanted to know more, and so I went diving and ended up, I think I went all in or backed quite heavily. So, you know, again, this is talking about having an effective cover art. This was very effective, and I should point out, okay, so designed by Michael Oras, art by Iwa Labak and Mikhail Salata. So I don't know who was responsible for the cover art, but yeah, again, this completely sold me on this game before I knew anything about gameplay. I just saw it, had to know more, ended up backing quite heavily, and later regretted it. Sold it all on, but it remains. And this is, you know, I'm able to separate my enjoyment of a game from what I believe are some really amazing forms of cover art. So there you go, folks. That is my top 10-ish non-war game box design covers. Again, share your top 10, top 3, top 1. Do you have a favourite? Is there anything I've missed? And again, I went through thousands. I probably stopped at around 7,000 to 8,000 covers that I went through on various games. There are some amazing covers I have tried, and I think I've been successful in limiting to this to games that I have am familiar with. So as I said, Earthborne Rangers, it's on its way. I'm familiar with gameplay. I've seen boxes. Antiquity is probably the one that haven't actually played, but again, very familiar with. But everything else on the list I either own, have played, or friends have a copy, or previously owned, or things like that. So folks, yeah, please do share. Let me know what I've missed. Is there anything really glaring? Let me know what you don't like, what you do like, what you would put where I've made mistakes. Very subjective, of course. Thanks everyone for watching, and take care. Bye for now.